guys, so I already filmed the video that I'm gonna film now, but the gods of YouTube are apparently not on my side because it did not record. This video was inspired by two things. The first thing is my internship. I mean, that's something I've always wanted to talk about a little bit because it's something that's always been on my mind and that I feel really deeply about. And this even was intensified and amplified when I started the internship, but also because yesterday I watched a video made by a lovely lady whom I already talked about, Holly. The link is going to be down below. She made a video about, I think it's called on learning languages or cultures or that, something along those lines. And it was a brilliant video, really spontaneous, well-spoken, well-articulated video. I thought, okay, let's do it. Let's finally talk about this. If you don't know, the internship I'm doing is basically me teaching French to people, to young migrants that come from various countries in the world, in various geographical areas. Being in contact with these people that are from different, cultures and different countries, different languages, just really reminded me of something that's always bothered me a lot. And it's the fact that some cultures and some countries, languages, people, traditions, whatever, are just really disregarded and just looked down on for no fucking good reason, while some cultures and some countries and places are just put on a pedestal, sometimes for no good reason. I've always been interested in languages, I've always been interested in other cultures, in people's lives, people's way of living, and people's traditions, people's feeling, history, all that kind of stuff. I remember when I was very young, I think this started with me wanting to have black dolls as well as white dolls. And I also remember having neighbors from, I think they were from Morocco, most of them, but probably some of them were from Algeria as well. And I remember I loved the music they were listening to, and I loved the smell of the food they were cooking. I grew really interested in Arabic language, but also everything related to the Arabic world. Never really talked about it online, I think, but I was obsessed with Egypt, mainly. Only Egypt. I think the Maghreb, the north of Africa, and then the Arabic Peninsula were just areas I was really interested in for some reason. And when I went to school, I remember I was really into learning English and I loved learning German, and I had friends from Asia. And then when I went on the internet, when I had my first laptop and I was on MySpace and MSN and all that kind of stuff, I was talking with people from all over the world, and I was really obsessed with Japan. I thought it was an amazing place, and also I was obsessed with Czech Republic for some reason. Then growing up, I just, started being really interested in all of Eastern Europe, and then Russia, and then South Korea, and then Vietnam for some reason, and then India. And I had many friends in the States, and I was like, Italy is wonderful. And I mean, everywhere is wonderful. I don't want to make a list because it would be like I'm missing out on a few places, but honestly I'm really interested in everywhere. And I remember even when I was younger, I was really puzzled by the fact that none of my friends really seemed to share my deep and very strong interest for the world. And I think it's something you see on various scales. Even if you stay within Europe, I think there's a few countries that are like the must go, the must see, like France, number one probably, with England, and then Germany, Spain, maybe Italy, maybe not Germany, but definitely France, England, Spain, Italy. And no one really gives a shit about Eastern Europe, no one really gives a shit about Greece, apart from the beautiful white wall and the blue sea. And I don't know, I just think it's weird because Eastern Europe is a place that's wonderful. It's a place that's full of beautiful buildings, amazing architecture. The languages in Eastern Europe are really difficult, really interesting from a linguistic point of view. The history is just mind-blowing. The people are really interesting as well. I remember when I started traveling in Eastern Europe, my friends and everyone was like, but why are you going to Eastern Europe? What are you going to do in Eastern Europe? That's so weird of a destination. But the weird thing is them just being so judgmental about a place they've never been to and they really don't know anything about. And I remember it was especially obvious when I went to Ukraine. Everyone was like, what are you gonna do in Ukraine? Where is even Ukraine? I was like, fuck, are you serious? When I went to Ukraine, I remember that even Ukrainian people were really surprised to see me and my friends, and they asked us, why are you in Ukraine? Why? And it just breaks my heart to think some people really, I'm pretty sure they love their culture and they love their countries, but they don't think of them as being interesting enough for people from other countries, or a few, you know, specific, the elite of, you know, other countries to come and visit. And it just breaks my heart to think that, because honestly Ukraine was amazing. I loved Ukraine, I loved Kyiv, I loved Lviv, I loved the people there, the architecture, the food was really good. People were so nice and educated there. I made a friend in the plane, and at the border between Ukraine and Hungary we basically got lost, missed our train, whatever. And I remember that guy working at the train station that carried my suitcase for us to be able to reach our train, and this guy that was speaking only in German and that helped us as well. I was like, if I didn't know how to speak German I'd be completely lost, but I wouldn't be even scared because I felt those people were taking care of me. And we were in that train where, you know, they were old people basically. I think they were going maybe to a farmer's market or something. They had all their vegetables and stuff and they were probably gonna sell them there. And while no one spoke English, they were all trying to help us. We had this little piece of paper with a few things written on it, and everyone was reading it, and you know, they were talking, trying to help us, and I was trying to speak a few words of Russian because that was the only thing I knew, and they were so nice. And I remember this old lady sitting in front of us. She started, you know, showing us picture of her daughter, and we could communicate even though we didn't speak the same language. And there was this very young lady that arrived, and she was speaking a bit of English, and she called her English teacher, handed the phone over to me for the English teacher to help me out and explain to me what I was supposed to do. And when we arrived in Lviv, she paid for us, like the bus, because we didn't have the time to change. I had the best time of my life in Ukraine, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. Well, everyone else was like, what are you going to do in Ukraine? It's the same for so many different countries in the world. I want to go to Kazakhstan, and people are like, what are you going to do in Kazakhstan? But they don't know anything about Kazakhstan. It just breaks my heart because it's lame to have this sort of mentality basically, or mindset, where you don't care for the world, for the cultures, for the countries, the landscapes, the people. You don't care about that. I think it's really lame and such a shame. I'm not to say that you should care about every single thing that's happening in the world and be in love with every single country in the world. For example, I didn't like Stockholm at all, and the first time I went to Moscow was a nightmare, but I went back, and you know what, everyone was like, oh, Russian people, but I didn't think Russian people were mean or cold or anything. But what I'm trying to say is there are so many fucking stupid stereotypes, so many countries we never think about that are wonderful, and it's a shame. There's no place in the world that I would say, oh, I'm never gonna go there before making my research about it. And if I want to skip that country, it's just because it's even weird for me. I don't even think there are places I have no interest in. There's no place that's too foreign, too weird, too bizarre, too unheard of that I would think, oh, okay, I'm not gonna go. And Holly said that perfectly. There's a big link and a big relationship between, you know, learning about people, their lives, their cultures, and learning languages. Learning languages is a tedious thing, and it can be really, really tiring. It can be also really funny. It's a very rich activity because it just, honestly, first of all, it's like exercise for your brain. Then you learn so much about the culture and the people when you know how they speak, because languages just organize thoughts basically as much as thoughts organize languages. The people that don't care about languages, people that, you know, have no interest in languages or don't want to learn a few words or whatever in whatever language, I think it's people who've never experienced the amazing and deep connection you have with people when you speak their language. With the kids I'm teaching to, the Egyptian ones, when I speak in Arabic with them a little bit, I see their eyes being like shh. And this morning we did this thing when I had drawn pictures, like maps of the countries the students I was teaching this morning were from, and I had put post-it on it to cover it up and, you know, hide it, and on each post-it there was like a syllable or a short word that they had to read well, and every time they would read it perfectly I would just take the post-it off and the little knot off, and it would, you know, gradually make the land or the map appear. And when they realized what their countries had drawn, and you know, they were the cities and the rivers and everything, they were like so happy. And I did this class about Tokyo, what a, you know, a common day in Tokyo looks like. They were so interested in the metro card or the yen or the onigiri, everything. And it's beautiful, and we should never lose that, because there are, Holly said that as well perfectly, there are so many complex power structures that rely on the fact that we don't care about those countries, about those people, these cultures, that we don't know them, we don't understand them, we misunderstand them. They use our fears, our disregard, our disinterest, our doubts and everything to, for their own sake, but also to furthermore discriminate against a few people, not even a few, discriminate against certain people and oppress them and push them aside and push them away. Other friends are not interested really in what's happening in the world, and they're like, but it's not, just not my thing. And yes, it might not be your thing, but it has a lot more repercussions and a lot more consequences, be it on a political level or a social level, than you would expect. It should not even come from a thought process, it should be something natural. It's like we have the most wonderful playground in the world, in the universe, whatever. The world is a wonderful playground with so much diversity, so much beauty, so many things to learn, so many sensations to have and emotions to feel and things to see, things to discover, people to meet, foods to taste, so many things to try. And some people are just like, bleh. Yes, some people might not be able to travel. You don't really need to travel to experience these things. You could watch documentaries. When I was younger, I remember I was watching documentaries every night really late about random things, and you know, very often it would be about countries and cultures, and it's just something I'm passionate about. And I don't know, learning languages, yeah, that's why I do it. I don't really learn languages for the sake of my job or anything, because it's really not related. I learn languages because I want to be able to connect with people, and the connection you make with people when they see that you know about their cultures, you know about their history, you know about their languages, is just priceless. And we all have time, you know, we all have a little bit of money to buy a book or to learn about a language or to watch this documentary or to wonder, oh, why is it happening like that in those countries? Or maybe I should ask this person what it's really about. It's also just really great if you want to criticize what's happening in the world, if you want to fight a few things. You cannot fight things if you don't know them very well and if you don't know what they're linked to and why they're here. If we want to fight the bad power structures, the bad social constructs that are ruining our lives and the lives of so many, we need to learn about everything that's surrounding them. It was a very long and random video. I'm sorry, it was all over the place. Hopefully this was somehow interesting. Thank you for watching this video, guys. I'm really thirsty. And I will see you soon. Bye!